My girlfriend recently gave me a Leonard Cohen tribute album. I'm your fan. Songs of Leonard Cohen. And it's interesting because I was thinking, I love this, first of all, rediscovering it, but I was also thinking, like, this was probably, might have been my introduction to Leonard Cohen back in, I think this came out in like 1989, 88 or 89. Primarily because I was into the Pixies and R.E.M., and they both were on here. So remember, yeah, first we take Manhattan. I definitely remember that being something I heard way before I heard Leonard Cohen's version, and then also the Pixie song I Can't Forget. Um, I know there's other songs in here. Yeah, John Cale, Hallelujah. I had that Songs from a Rainy Season CD, which was a live performance of John Cale, and I think one of those songs was Hallelujah. So I knew that version before I ever heard Leonard's too. And this is great to rediscover. I mean, there's songs on here that I forgot about, or interpretations, like Ian McCulloch's song, "Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye." The first song, "Who by Fire" by House of Love. They resequenced this a little bit. I think it's due to vinyl length, side length. But originally it opened up with that REM song, or REM's version of Leonard Cohen's "First We Take Manhattan." But now it opens up with "Who by Fire," which is a pretty short version of it, and then it goes straight into "Hey, There's No Way to Say Goodbye" by Ian McCulloch. During that time, he was kind of solo from Echo and the Bunnymen, and it's a great. It's really, it plays really well. It's a nice compilation. The only thing that I find kind of jarring, and this is kind of crazy because I'm such a fan of him now, is Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds cover of "Tower of Song." It's just, to me, it's like the stuff I just don't like by Nick Cave. It's really abrasive. I think if he was to do it now, he would treat the song with a lot more respect. It seems like when you're listening to it, it's all about him and his style, and you're really not getting kind of an appreciation, at least in my mind, for how great the song is, especially the lyrics. But we're fortunate enough to get another version of the song by Robert Forster, who I'm not familiar with, but I like that one a little bit better. But anyway, it got me thinking about origins of my origin of Leonard Cohen, because I think this was the first hearing about him, like circa '89, I believe. It had to have been, because I didn't get into the Pixies until Doolittle came out, so I think it had to be '89. And then where it went from there. I'm pretty sure, actually I'm very sure, that what did it for me was the song lyric to Pennyroyal Tea by Nirvana. "Give me a Leonard Cohen afterworld so I can sigh eternally." And I was always big on reading up about bands, right? I mean, a pivotal band for me was R.E.M. I read up on them, or read every interview. I got turned on to so many bands because of that band. And a similar thing kind of happened with Nirvana. Reading interviews, just whatever it would lead to. I remember they mentioned PJ Harvey a lot, or Kurt Cobain did, the Vaselines, and Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen came up quite a bit. I remember I was living in Minneapolis, and I went down to Northern Lights Records, which is no longer there anymore, and I bought the best of Leonard Cohen. I don't have it on vinyl, and I think I got rid of the CD a long time ago, but it looks like it's come straight out of like the easy listening, kind of mellow Burt Bacharach kind of songs of the early '60s. I mean, he's all dressed up the way that Leonard Cohen is, but the art direction, everything about it, it even felt weird buying it. It felt like I was buying some like antique, something very old, and something that I wasn't sure I would like. But oh my God, I loved it right away. I mean, Suzanne, from the first opening words of Suzanne, I was completely blown away, and had such a good experience with that record. I wanted to buy his newest record at the time, which was The Future. Or no, I think The Future came out later. Sorry. It was I'm Your Man, which to this day remains my favorite Leonard Cohen record. It's him kind of embracing new instruments, trying new things out at the time. There's lots of, I mean, you could say cheesy keyboards, but it just kind of fits the vibe. And the songs are so good on that record. I mean, we're talking, things like, of course, "First We Take Manhattan," but like everybody knows. Okay, that was another cover. I heard Concrete Blonde covering "Everybody Knows" around that time. I think it was on a soundtrack for "Pump Up the Volume." So that's another thing that I got into. It's sort of like this perfect storm of bands that I liked covering things. Sorry, my cat's being obnoxious in the background. And hearing about him in interviews. But Man, what a record. I'm Your Man. I mean, I'm Your Man, the song, First We Take Manhattan, Tower of Song, the song I just talked about that Nick Cave covered. Um, Everything except for the Jazz Police. That song's a little annoying on here. But this album, definitely a great album. So for the longest time, I think I had the Greatest Hits record, Bird on a Wire, Suzanne, Hey, That's No Way to Say Goodbye, Chelsea Hotel, Famous Blue Raincoat. I mean, all the songs, and it flowed really well too. A lot of times I have issues with greatest hits if the styles are too jarring, but that album played great all the way through. And then my appreciation just kept growing over the years. The Future became a record that got a lot of exposure. The songs did, from Natural Born Killers. I got that record when it came out or soon afterwards too. I didn't like it as much as I'm Your Man, but I did appreciate it. And it's got one anthem, has one of my favorite Leonard Cohen lyrics about there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. But yeah, so it was interesting. Over the years, I got more and more into Leonard Cohen. I had the privilege of seeing him live in 2008, I think, or 9. It might have been 2009. Unbelievable show. Unbelievable. It was like holy. It was like being in church. It was so incredible just being in his presence. And I got to see him in a small place. This was the State Theater in Minneapolis. This wasn't like the O2 or some of these huge venues that he also played. It was like sacred. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it. And he was, every moment he just was like grateful. He kept kind of getting down on one knee and like taking off his hat and like bowing, and super gracious to his band. And you can hear the same kind of thing on those live records, which I think are a great place to start too. I want to talk about that. Like, where do you start with Leonard Cohen? There's some great documents from that tour. Live in London, live in Dublin. There are songs from, it's not Songs from a Room, but songs from a something that I should have looked that up. That is also kind of a great live recording from that tour. There's all kinds of stuff. That tour is very well documented, and rightfully so. It was just amazing. He lost everything basically to his manager, thought he was in retirement, didn't plan on putting out any more records, had to financially to provide for himself, but holy crap, like, he found a whole new audience, a whole new appreciation, a whole new way of playing live, of appreciating his fans, being on stage, loving every moment of it. And you can totally tell. So yeah, before that I was getting way more into him too. And then I would say the last year it's been a lot of Leonard Cohen. I think he was my most listened to artist last year, which is kind of crazy to think about. My girlfriend and I listened to a lot of Leonard. It's just, I never get tired of him, and I always find new appreciation, new layers of him. A lot of people think, oh, Leonard Cohen, he's so depressing. I don't know where that came from. I mean, he's serious. He's on a quest for meaning in the world, his world, spiritually, politically, everything, right? And yeah, if you compare him to like the pop songs from the mid 60s or late 60s when he came out, yeah, okay, sure. It's more serious music, but I've never really, I mean, maybe something like Avalanche or, songs of love and hate can get a little dark sometimes, but I don't really have that issue where I think that Leonard Cohen is depressing. I don't put on Leonard Cohen and get depressed whatsoever. It's a great experience. I find myself just kind of in awe to hear his stuff. I appreciate lyrics. Different lyrics will jump out at me. And I like his voice. I like his early voice, and I really like his later voice. Well, I guess almost mid-period with something like I'm Your Man. But then even the later stuff, even on that live tour, where it deepened, and there's a new appreciation. I think a new way he's connecting with his material, and that's great too. Even his final album, You Want It Darker, is great, and I like that. But that voice is like really low and different, but it's great. I love it. There's so much expression in it. People say the same thing about Dylan. I could understand more about why people don't like Dylan's voice for sure, but Leonard, I don't think I mean, he's born with the gift of a golden voice, right? As he kind of jokes around in a song. But yeah, that was sort of my introduction to Leonard, and boy, I can, I've fallen in love with different records. Last year was New Skin for the Old Ceremony. I had never really paid a whole lot of attention to that record, and I love it. So there's something amazing about these artists, especially great lyricists like Leonard Cohen, who get much better than Leonard, who just reveal more over time. And yeah. So, but as far as recommending, so if you're getting into Leonard Cohen, if you've never heard Leonard Cohen or never really spent much time, or just know Hallelujah and a couple other songs, first of all, I would not recommend your first album being the one with Hallelujah on it. Various Positions is a decent record. I don't think it's in the top 5, and I don't even know if it's in the top 10 for Leonard Cohen. He did the song Hallelujah much better live and different over the years than he did on that record. I'm also not of the mindset where I think that it's all about Hallelujah whatsoever. He's got so many other songs. That's one song. It's a good song, overplayed. I mean, he even took a moratorium on it for a while. But yeah, so if I was to recommend records to start with, the way I did it, greatest hits, I don't think you can go wrong. Usually I don't like greatest hits collections, but like I said, this one's really good. I also think you could just start with the first record, Songs of Leonard Cohen. I mean, this record has a lot of those songs where I have a nice mono copy, which I really like. I don't even remember where I got it, but it plays really nice. So Long Marianne, that whole first side, really. Suzanne, Winter Ladies, Sisters of Mercy, which just blows me away every time I hear it. The Stranger song. A lot of these songs would show up on that greatest hits record, but I don't think you'd go wrong with starting from the beginning. If you like it, well, there's plenty of other records, Songs of Love and Hate, and songs from R.E.M. that are would follow that, I think. But also, I think I'm Your Man. I mean, I know people that's their Leonard Cohen record. It's my favorite. It's just got great lyrics. It's interesting. It's him playing a lot of, little Casios and drum machines, and I think it works. I think that kind of cheesy '80s sound works. I mean, it's something he's doing to create. It's not something that's being applied to his music. I think there's a difference there. I also think that you probably could not go wrong by just picking up one of those live albums, like Live in London or Live in Dublin, off that last tour, and just sitting down, having a glass of wine, end of day, and just playing it and listening, or listen to it with someone else, just have it in the background, or listen attentively. But I think even if you have it in the background, things will just pop out, and once you get into Leonard's world, I think it's kind of hard to exit. He's a seductive fella. So yeah, I think that's one way to get into Leonard. There's a great documentary that came out a little while ago called Hallelujah, which is just excellent. Highly recommend that. And yeah, but I recommend Leonard almost like unwinding at the end of the day. Put on a Leonard Cohen record, maybe Sunday morning too. I mean, he's a great Sunday morning listen. But yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with greatest hits, the first record, I'm Your Man, and what else? Maybe there might. Those are probably the main ones for me. Some people really, really like. I mean, like Nick Cave's favorite Leonard Cohen record is Songs of Love and Hate. I think that's the only one for me that does get a little dark. Songs from a Room. Some people love that. It's a little bit more produced. The introduction of a lot of background singers come onto that. It was recorded in Nashville. It's a little bit different than songs of Leonard Cohen. But yeah, you can't go wrong with Leonard Cohen. And yeah, that's how I got turned on to Leonard Cohen. Of course, Leonard's turned me on to a lot of different things. It's raised the bar of what I want to listen to, what I expect from music. And I just find him endlessly fascinating. I read his book not that long ago, or one of them. It's got a blue cover. I'll link to it in the bio here, but in the description. But yeah, Leonard Cohen. If you for some reason you have not acquainted yourself with Mr. Cohen, get ready for a interesting ride and maybe a whole new appreciation for a certain type of music.